Somewhere around your early 20s, you started noticing the gap. The man training next to you, doing less, eating roughly the same, looked like he belonged to a different category of biology entirely. You tried every explanation. Genetics, supplements, the fact that he had been training longer. None of them fully held. The actual explanation was already written on both of you. Before the first training session, before the first meal plan, before any decision either of you made about your body. Your body type is not the result of what you have done. It is a hormonal report your endocrine system filed before you were old enough to read it. And the gap you noticed in the gym was never about effort. It was about which hormonal program was running beneath the effort, in his body and in yours. 5 body types, 5 completely different hormonal realities, each one carrying a biological code that determines not just how the body looks, but how it processes food, converts training, and responds to stress at the molecular level. I'm starting with the category the fitness world has misread for 30 years. Category 1, the cortisol frame. You eat and the body ignores it. You train and adaptation stays minimal. For years, every coach delivered the same diagnosis. You are not eating enough. Eat more, train more. The prescription was designed for a different body. It was addressing the wrong system in yours. Think back to the last time you were under real sustained pressure for several weeks. Work that never stopped. Financial strain that did not resolve. A period where rest felt structurally impossible. Did your body get leaner during that time? Despite eating normally? Despite doing nothing to encourage it? That was not your metabolism failing. That was cortisol suppressing your anabolic signal at the source before any calorie reached its destination. Ectomorphs carry elevated HPA axis activity as a constitutional default. In practical terms, the stress response system runs hotter than other body types as a biological baseline. Not because of anything done wrong, but as a constitutional setting. Higher cortisol suppresses the pituitary's LH output, which reduces testicular testosterone production at the top of the hormonal cascade. SHBG, a binding protein, then captures free testosterone in the bloodstream before it reaches the muscle cell. Testosterone measurable on a blood test, inaccessible at the receptor. Eating more cannot fix a suppressed hormonal environment. The primary intervention is HPA regulation. Sleep quality is the single most powerful lever available. Cortisol is suppressed during deep sleep phases in a way no supplement can replicate. Clinical studies document ashwagandha reducing baseline cortisol by 27% in men with chronically elevated HPA activity. And counterintuitively, reduced training volume often produces better results in this frame. Excess volume generates additional cortisol stimulus on a system already running above baseline. More work, less hormonal capacity to convert it. The cortisol frame was misread as a caloric problem for 3 decades. Move slightly up the composition scale and the cortisol story changes, and a different hormonal advantage takes its place. Category 2, the androgen optimizer. Lean, defined, stronger than anyone looking at the frame expects. You have probably assumed the gap between expectation and actual output was something you trained your way into. The research suggests the receptor density was already there before the training began. Think about the last time you outperformed someone who significantly outweighed you in a physical context. That differential has a documented biological source. Training methodology is not its primary driver. At low body fat with maintained muscle mass, the testosterone to cortisol ratio sits at its optimal point. Aromatase conversion remains minimal because there is not enough adipose tissue to drive it. The International Journal of Sports Medicine documented it directly. Lean muscular men show the highest androgen receptor density per unit of muscle tissue of any body type. Receptor density amplifies the anabolic effect of every testosterone molecule the body produces. The hormonal efficiency of this frame is not visible from outside. It operates entirely at the level of receptor and molecule. The specific biological risk is fat accumulation. Even moderate increases in body fat raise aromatase activity, intercepting free testosterone and converting it to estradiol before the receptor receives it. Every percentage point of body fat gained above the optimal range progressively erodes the receptor advantage that defines this frame. Adding mass while maintaining that hormonal alignment is what produces the next category. Category 3. The sweet spot. Training response. Composition shifts when directed. The people around you use the word genetics, and they are correct, but for reasons that go significantly deeper than the word typically reaches. Think about returning to training after 2 weeks away. Strength returning faster than the absence should allow. Most coaches call it muscle memory. The actual driver is myostatin suppression, the biological brake on muscle development running lighter in this hormonal profile as a default setting. Myostatin is a protein the body produces specifically to limit how much muscle can be built. Every body type produces it. In the mesomorphic hormonal profile, its expression is suppressed at higher rates than any other body type, documented across multiple body composition studies. The brake on development is running at a fraction of its standard output. 2 men, identical training, identical nutrition, producing measurably different results, not because one works harder, but because the hormonal environment beneath the identical work is converting the same input into a different biological output. The mesomorph does not train better. The biology delivers more from the same effort. Fat accumulation past the optimal range activates aromatase, shifting the profile incrementally towards category 4 and progressively dismantling the alignment that defines this category. The sweet spot is a hormonal address that requires active maintenance. It is not a permanent state. Category 4. The Aromatase Machine. Muscle builds readily. Strength is real. The gap between effort and result has been consistent enough and long enough that most men in this profile have stopped expecting it to close and started assuming the problem is them. The explanation lives inside the fat cells themselves. When did you last test estradiol alongside testosterone? Not just total T, estradiol. The most commonly misread hormonal pattern in men produces a completely normal total testosterone reading, while free testosterone is quietly depleted by a mechanism the standard blood panel never measures. Fat tissue expresses aromatase, the enzyme converting testosterone to estradiol. The relationship scales directly with adipose volume. More tissue means more continuous conversion, regardless of training consistency or dietary discipline. Obesity reviews documented estradiol in high body fat men at levels comparable to menopausal women. The testosterone is present in the bloodstream. Adipose tissue is converting it before the receptor receives it. Insulin resistance compounds the situation by disrupting pituitary LH signaling, reducing testosterone production at the source while aromatase simultaneously handles what is produced. Total testosterone normal on the blood panel, estradiol elevated, free testosterone depleted. The test looks acceptable, the hormonal environment is not. Body fat reduction is the primary intervention. Every percentage point of adipose tissue lost measurably reduces aromatase activity. The tissue is functioning as an active endocrine organ, its volume determining its hormonal output, and it responds directly to volume reduction. Category 5. The suppressed system. At severe obesity, the same cascade reaches a self-sustaining endpoint. Aromatase converts testosterone to estradiol. Elevated estradiol suppresses hypothalamic GnRH. Less GnRH means less pituitary LH. Less LH means reduced testicular testosterone output. The estradiol already present continues suppressing the hypothalamic signal regardless of the reduced output below it. The loop closes. The system silences its own production cascade from within. Research documents measurable testosterone recovery within 12 weeks of sustained caloric deficit in men with obesity-related hypogonadism. The suppression responds to the same intervention as category 4, the driving condition reduced directly, the feedback loop losing the signal that sustained it. Here is the finding that reframes all 5 categories at once. Your body type was never a sentence. It was a starting coordinate and a hormonal report filed before you made a single deliberate decision about your health. Every category has a documented intervention point. The cortisol frame responds to HPA regulation. The androgen optimizer responds to body composition maintenance. The aromatase machine and the suppressed system both respond to the reduction of the adipose tissue, driving the conversion cascade, with measurable hormonal recovery documented within 12 weeks. What nobody translated for you is that the shape was always pointing somewhere, showing you which hormonal system needed attention, in the only language available to it before you knew any of this existed. The man who spent years working against his frame was working against a document he was never taught to read. The frame carried the instruction manual the entire time. If this changed how you understand your own biology, share it with a man who has been working against his frame without knowing what it was trying to tell him. Subscribe to COSMIQS. See what your eyes can't.